set.
It is because I don't sound with the good progression.
Yeah, that's nice. The lights as well, not too.
Last show was in Holland, wasn't it? In London.
Yeah, I think so. No, we did a Christmas Great Ormond Street thing.
My show tonight is at Hoxton Hall for an organisation known as War Child. It's an organisation that I've always admired, and I'm very humbled and honoured actually to be asked to be a part of this show. So we've prepared, I say prepared lightly, because we're going to be winging it a little bit. Me and my musical director, Mr. Nikolai Tor, have prepared a very intimate take on most of the songs from the new album and some old ones. And yeah, just try to make a beautiful evening out of a great event, and hope that we can have a wonderful night with everybody.
We are bound to a place where they won't find.
Personally, I've been very fortunate, like most of my generation, in the part of the world where I live, where war has not affected or touched my life. However, both my grandparents were very much touched by the war. My grandfather was somewhat, still is somewhat of, I like to use the word hero because that's how I see it. But he was very influential in the liberation of his region of Italy against fascism. I was very lucky because history could have gone the other way. But I was very fortunate that my grandfather was of the same views, ethic views that I have. And he didn't believe in fascism. And I was very fortunate that because I have many friends whose grandparents did, even though they don't. And I think that's throughout the history of European history, a lot of generations can forget that, how things change. But I was fortunate that my grandfather shared the same values that I did in the war. And as a result of that, I was able to grow up with certain philosophies and political views. I think when it comes to any conflict, there are certain things that can lighten conflict, that can allow you to survive conflict, and that is hope. I think art, music, philosophy, religion at times are all forms of hopefulness. They're all beliefs, strength, things that can take you outside of the present and make you view them hopefully in a more idealistic, sometimes more beautiful manner. And I think, like most art forms, music's importance when it comes to conflict is that it's about giving you hope, bringing beauty and sometimes understanding. And even when it's bringing sadness, it's allowing you to be okay with feeling sad. And I find a lot of the music that has come out of various parts of the world that are going through conflict, you kind of get the two extremes. You either get an incredible, energetic, let's get out of this, let's be hopeful, and it's very sort of rejoiceful somewhat. Or you get an incredibly dark, solemn, melancholic, remember how it used to be, what have we lost? And I think they're both as cathartic as each other. One gives hope, but one allows you to be okay with the misery and the struggle you're going through. And I think that's where music plays its role in conflict. It allows you to get out of the middle of the road and sort of escape to either side of different awakenings of how you're going to deal with the situation you're in, which is conflict. So since I started writing songs about war, primarily when I was younger rather than now. And I've always been fascinated as to why. I think I had a fascination with war since I was a kid. Both my grandfathers have very different stories, but very, I should say, intense and relative stories throughout the Second World War. And relative, I say that because their stories led to me growing up the way I did. Where I grew up was a result of that. My grandfather on the Italian side was one of the head of the partisans of his region in Liguria. And my grandfather from my mother's side was a Polish Jew who married a German woman from Leipzig in Munich and escaped persecution in Germany to Paris, and then from Paris escaped to London, which is how I ended up being born in London. So I've always been fascinated with the repercussions of war more than war itself. I've never been fascinated with weapons or planes or tanks. That as a kid even didn't really fascinate me. What fascinated me more was the reason people went to war, and the reason wars were won, and the reason wars were lost, and the way some individuals, every individual's life can be completely warped as a result of war. That always fascinated me.
I need the love you give me. I need the love you give